So you all know how I normally go for 30-day reviews when it comes to phones. Well, this time I took it a bit slower with the 7 Pro. I got to know it a bit better. We've had a few arguments, made up, took it for dinner, whispered into its earpiece, it played a song for me, and in the end, we fell in love. I mean, even though I've grown a bit of a distaste for curved displays because they're such a pain in the ass with screen protectors, it's just so pretty. The blue looks awesome in any light, but like a lot of glass-backed phones without a case or skin, fingerprints build up real quick and it ends up looking like a viewing window at the zoo. You know how kids are with their gross little boogery fingers. The alert slider on the side's still something I'd love to see on more phones. Like, it's completely unnecessary, but so worth it. I'm always fiddling with it in my pocket. Probably looks a bit weird in public. I should stop. It's a big phone, so it's a lot harder to reach things for me with my very average size hands, and there's no one-handed mode feature to help us out there either, which I found a bit odd considering it's a really popular feature request in the OnePlus forums. So let's chat about that display, because it's probably one of the biggest upgrades. Like with past OnePlus phones, especially the past couple of years, I was a bit tired of seeing 1080p displays when every other phone had been shipping with QHD displays for years. But now we've got this amazing notchless 6.67-inch AMOLED display with a pretty uncommon but awesome QHD plus resolution, 90 Hz refresh rate, and an absolutely nutty 93% screen to body ratio. Like, what is happening? Colors look bloody brilliant. It gets plenty bright in manual mode at up to 526 nits, but can struggle a little bit in direct sunlight. So just pop it into auto mode and it holds its own at up to 813 nits according to DisplayMate. Scrolling's probably where you'll notice that 90 Hz display the most. Like, I do a lot of scrolling in my wallpaper apps while hunting for the best ones, and I always have to take breaks with every other phone because I start getting nauseous. Not with the 7 Pro, it's just smooth sailing. Bottom line, 90 Hz display should be the standard on all phones from now on, because this is just too good, man. The in-display fingerprint reader has been upgraded to a next-gen optical sensor, which comes with a larger finger recognition area. Now, I don't know if the larger area has helped or if it's just better software optimizations this year, but personally, I found it to be faster and more accurate than my time with last year's 6T. It still struggles with wet fingers, especially mine because I'm such a stud. I'm just joking, I'm married. But probably not for long after that joke. Either way, it's faster and been consistently more accurate than the 6T was. We've got a great stereo speaker setup. The one on the bottom is apparently responsible for the lows, and then the one in the earpiece takes care of the highs. And together, they get plenty loud without distortion and sound great. Like from the new flash storage UFS version 3.0 that really gives a boost in read and write performance to the various software optimizations and user customizations, I've just really enjoyed using this phone. Like, you can feel OnePlus wanted to make sure you got an excellent user experience, and that's exactly what I've been having. Mine came with 12 gigs of RAM and it absolutely flies through anything. Like, it's such a smooth experience. You completely forget that Android stutters ever existed. But as much as I love bragging about having 12 gigs, I really don't think anyone needs it yet, because monitoring RAM usage, I don't think I ever went above 8 gigs. So normally I'd tell you to save some cash and get the 8 gig, but then again, the 12 gig is only $50 more than the 8 gig, and the 8 gig is only $30 more than the 6 gig. Just get the 12 gig and be done with it. Bragging's fun. Okay, so typically when I'm reviewing a phone, I don't really care about saving battery life. Like, I want the best experience that any phone has to offer. Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, and location data always on, high screen brightness, maximum resolution, and in this case, the highest screen refresh rate. Now, when I first got the phone in, I typically got around 5 or so hours of screen on time out of its 4,000 milliamp hour battery. Well, that's why I'm glad I waited to review it, because since then, it's received a ton of firmware updates. Now, I get a pretty consistent 6.5 hours screen on time, which I think is just great. But then there's the 30-watt warp charger that comes in the box, and that'll charge the 7 Pro from 1 to 100% in an hour and 20 minutes, and from 1 to 50% in about 20 minutes. Like, come on, that's just beyond convenient. Anyways, you're probably all aware of the new camera system with the 3 zoom, standard, and wide angle cameras on the back and the pop-up at the top. So I gotta admit, I'm a pretty big sucker for that pop-up selfie cam. I mean, that's just cool. It takes what I think are good pictures and does a good job with skin tones, as long as you're not a dumbass like me pushing its boundaries, snapping shots of myself directly facing the afternoon sun, like you'd think I'd learn by now. But selfie portraits aren't that great. At least it hasn't been for me. It seems to always struggle with my hats and beard. Such is the life of a badass. No. I've had a lot of fun getting to know the rear triple camera setup. Colors are great. Sometimes I had to take a double because maybe the first one looked a bit washed out, probably because Auto HDR didn't know what to do, but for the most part, yeah man, photos look sharp and clean with great contrast and saturation. Low light scenes can get pretty muddy, but that night sight mode does a decent job at what it's supposed to do. Sometimes the effects of it aren't quite what I was going for, but once you memorize how it affects a shot, it's easier to judge whether you should use it or not, if that makes sense. I don't know, I think it takes awesome pictures. The selection of 3 cameras is super useful, and honestly, I can't believe you can get a phone that takes as good a picture as it does, starting at under $700. Like, come on. Value-wise, I don't think there's much out there that can match what the 7 Pro offers for the price. For just point and shoot pictures in auto mode, I think I like the Pixel and Galaxy S10 Plus more, but for everything else, like the display, battery life, performance, UI, I've had an A+ experience with the 7 Pro. Anyways, I think that does it for this one, but what do you guys think? Like, I know this is the most expensive phone OnePlus has launched, but considering it still costs a lot less than basically every other mainstream flagship phone while sacrificing so little, I mean, that's gotta count for something, right? Well, if you enjoyed the video, show me some love with that like button. Subscribe if you're new to my stuff, and don't forget to follow me on Instagram to see what I'm up to next. But, thanks as always for watching, and I'll talk to you on the next one. Cheers.